Thank you. Question number 19. Mr. Speaker. 19. Mr. Speaker, the department is taking robust action to respond to State of 3. We continue to implement measures in the National Security Act, which includes launching the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme on the 1st of July. Anderson, thank you. Mr. Speaker, we know that tourists and potential terrorists, Eric, coming on small boats across the English. So, why are the border force picking these people up and bringing them to the UK? Well, I can say to the Honourable Gentleman that we are strengthening those checks and we continually assess potential threats in the UK and ensure that we guard against them before we show you the full footage. Do us a little favour by subscribing to their channel, because over 98% of you watching haven't subscribed. It costs you nothing, not even a penny, to join this channel. Have you subscribed? Thanks so much. Last month, we missed a lot. The Comans proper detonated. And it all began with one of those lines that makes cameras snap and phone clips go viral. Airform MP stood up, stared straight down the lens of Parliament and accused the Labour government of effectively escort small boats of migrants into the UK. The phrase wasn't casual. It was loaded, theatrical and designed Toland. Within minutes, the chamber was elected. MPs shouting, the Speaker trying to calm things down, aides scurrying for briefing notes, and outside social feeds were already spitting out looped clips with blazing Now, let me be clear from that accusation was made in the heat of parliamentary politics and reflects what the Reform MP claimed in the chamber. Not a proven fact, but in politics, accusations stick like gum on a shoe. And the fallout this week shows exactly how quickly a parliamentary's bind can shape public perception on political fate. He said that the government talked about compassion and legal process. It was in practice failing to stop crossings and then welcoming people ashore with little deterrent that border force interceptions and transfers looked less like enforcement and more like unorganized ferry service. The clip of him saying, Escort, our deliberator Povik, was edited into short furious reels that chopped his words into headlines. Across platforms, you could feel the temperature rise across the country. The MP's line built in real public frustration. Community A seeing more arrivals on beaches, council services stretched, and a sense that every new boat is another hot-button headline elected politicians must answer for. He didn't invent the frustration. He leaned into it. If Border Force picks them up and just drops them at a port or hotel, then what's the deterrent? Why aren't we stopping crossings before they start? The Home Department Minister, a woman who has had to field tougher questions this month than most ministers face in a year, tried to respond calmly. She stressed that Border Force operations are about safety at sea, preventing loss of life, and processing people in line with international law. She said the UK's duty to rescue at sea is not negotiable, that security checks happen on arrival, and that the government is strengthening measures to stop criminal gangs. But their form, line, escort, had already lodged itself in people's minds. It sounded like collusion rather than rescue. And in the age of short attention spans, rescue and collusion can look dangerously similar to those searching for simple answers. The emotional anchor here is visceral and immediate. Ordinary people who watch these clips are thinking. In legal nuance, they're thinking, my town's council tax is rising. My kid's school is full. My GP can't get me an appointment, and yet more people are arriving on the coast. They're worried. And when an MP frames state's action as escorting boats, It plays into the raw narrative of a government out of control. That's powerful politics. It contrasts ordinary citizens, rationing their weeks to deal with daily life against what they view as distant elites who talk about the humanitarian obligations while local services creak. On the other side, you have charities, Coast Guard professionals, and human rights lawyers who point out that the sea is deadly and that rescuing people in danger is a moral and legal duty. They argue that equating rescue with facilitation is both callous and false. Their images airy off rubber dinghies full of people in the Reform MP's images are of orderly arrivals and both pictures tug at their heartstrings in different directions, which makes the debate messy, emotional, and combustible. Politically, their fallout was immediate. Opposition parties leaped on the clip, like Terrierson a sock. The Conservatives and Reform sent out blistering lines accusing Labour of incompetence and naivety, arguing that the only way to stop crossings was to ensure deterrence. Tougher border controls, agreements with third countries, and swift removals. Labour MPs predictably pushed back hard. They accused Reform of cynicism and of simplifying a complex situation. They said that rescuing people at sea is not the same as facilitating crossings and that public safety must come first. The Home Secretary's office issued a forceful statement. The government wastes investing in maritime interdiction, strengthened prosecutions of PR smugglers, and a pilot of new counter-gang powers. But statements and pilots are rarely enough to calm a public looking for concrete numbers and the optics matter as much ASD policy. Social media, as ever, escalated the theatre into a nationwide of clips of the MPSC ROW deep leasing accusation were stitched with images of buses, local authority notices, and migrants queuing outside reception centres. Hashtags trended on both sides, one calling for the other for humanity at c.influencers, and commentators with big followings turned the moment into Mondays. Agenda and Tuesday's crisis. Comment sections became arenas of suspicion and anger. A few threads veered into xenophobic language, which forced platforms to moderate heavily. Charities and Coast Guard volunteers were quick to issue calm professionality, explaining that their priority was saving lives and that legitimate deterrence requires insertion, cooperation, intelligence, and legal frameworks, not simply ignoring people in peril. The balance between compassion and control emerges the core political tension of the moment internationally. The accusation that the UK is escorting boats plays into a larger debate across Europe about migrants, with similar crossing routes affecting France, Italy, and Spain in recent years. Pundits on the content watch the Commons fireworks and wrote ups about whether Britain had lost Theplet on border security. French authorities quietly complained to a counterparts in private briefings, saying that unless both sides coordinated on patrols and deterrence, small boat crossings would continue to be a shared headache. Diplomats worked bend the scenes trying to align intelligence sharing, French coastal enforcement, and the legal mechanisms for returns. Some European partners even hinted that Britain's unilateral approach, public appeals, and sporadic enforcement won't work without joint operational plans and quick removal routes. The international angle matters best. Borders are seldom a domestic-only problem. They are webs of cooperation, diplomacy, and legal obligations. Back at home, the political theatre moved quickly to the human level. Local councils in coastal towns issued statements demanding more Home Office support, extra policing, funding for emergency housing, and clearer communications. Residents' meeting rooms filled with concern. Some residents angry at what they saw as lack of government control organized peaceful marches. Others deliberately volunteered at locale centers to help new arrivals, while demanding more transparency about numbers and placement policies. The picture was messy and human and politically dangerous. Ordinary members helping newcomers by day, arguing about policy by night. That contrast, grassroots compassion, up against national fury, was the real story. Bonneth, the Commons headlines. The government tried to clamp down on misperceptions by publishing a raft of data in the days following the arrival numbers, rescue operations, prosecutions of smugglers, and the number of people returned to Remo. Some of it supported the minister's claim that rescue and subsequent security checks were routine. Some of it underscored the scale of the problem, that arrivals remained high and removals lagged. But data alone didn't tend the argument. Numbers read coldly, owner spreadsheet don't soothe. Grandmother worried about her street, or Anne watching commenters slam their inboxes. The Reform MP's soundbite had become a political shorthand for a deeper grievance that citizens feel less in line for attention and resources. The climax of the story came when a steering committee hearing forced ministers to put witnesses under oath. A senior border force official, male, visibly tense after days of briefings, was asked whether operational orders ever rescue over deterrence and whether any actions had unintentional deterrent effects. He answered carefully, noting that maritime rescue is a legal duty, but conceded that operational choices can have unintended consequences if not paired with effective prevention strategies on the French coast and swift returns. That concession was the gift reform needed. A public admission that operational complexity could create adverse incentives